the same pattern that we had for Mali and the same pattern that we had for Ghana, where we're going to have a civilization becoming powerful, controlling the gold and salt trade, and then falling because of North African invaders. It's kind of uncanny how similar these are all going to be. So today we're focusing on Songhai, 1340 to 1591. Now, Songhai was part of Mali's empire, just like how Mali was part of Ghana's empire. And Songhai had relative autonomy. Autonomy basically means having the ability to make your own decisions. So, for example, if your parents left you home alone, you all of a sudden have autonomy. If heaven forbid they left you home alone around dinner time, you could be like, you know what? I could eat the food they left me in the refrigerator, or maybe I could just have ice cream for dinner. That's a choice you can make with autonomy. Now, as someone who's had ice cream for dinner, I don't recommend it because it just gives you a tummy ache. But you could do it if you have autonomy. Some of you guys probably can't wait until you're a little bit older, maybe 16, have a driver's license, and you can go drive without having your parents go with you. You know, it's one of those things that the older you get, the more freedom you want. And then once you get old enough where you're an adult, you're like, maybe not having so much freedom would be great so I can have things done for me. But when Mali starts declining, they start asserting their own power. They start saying, you know, we're going to start calling the shots. They start going and trying to be the boss of things. Now, they're going to wind up building up an army, and they're going to wind up controlling territory. And they are going to then wind up taxing the trade routes. This is the same thing as Ghana, the same thing as Mali. It's this idea that they use their armies to control land so that they can control the taxes. They then use that tax money to get more soldiers, to then control more land, to get more taxes, to get more soldiers, to control more land, to get more taxes, to control more land. It's the same story again. And the founder here, you don't need to write all of this about him, but Sunni Ali is going to be the founder. He is going to be the man behind making the machine of, Mali's military complex, where they're able to go have all of this power because of the land they control, because of the taxes. So Sunni Ali is here. And I am going to tell you, so this picture right here, this is attributed as Sunni Ali. However, you'll see it's also attributed to Songhai Muhammad Tour. It's attributed to many, actually, African kings. So I don't know the artist's full intent, but I think this is supposed to be Sunni Ali. And here we see the territory that we controlled. And with this, we're going to notice that Ghana was here. Kumba Salah was the capital of Ghana, and it was right over here. And so they're going to control the old capital. They're going to be right here so that they can stop, the salt and the gold trade. They can make sure to tax it. But they're primarily focused further east, with Gao being their capital. They have Mali's former capital of Timbuktu, so we see how it incorporates the old empires there. Now, Sunni Ali will die 1492, the same year Christopher Columbus sails the ocean blue, and his son is going to succeed him. However, his son was not a devout Muslim. He accepted Islam as his faith, but really wasn't focused on going and following it too strictly. And so what happens is, some people say, well, you're not following it as well. Yeah, you do need a permit first. So one of his generals has a coup d'etat. Muhammad Askayator says, this guy is no Sunni Ali. He's going to lead this country down the tubes. So he winds up overthrowing the government and making himself king. Now, he is going to be a bit extreme with his interpretations of Islam, and is basically going to start saying, okay, you can convert or die. He's going to have Songhai follow Sharia law as its main law, getting rid of much of the regular law code, and is going to wind up having Songhai conquer even more territory. And Songhai will become a rich and powerful kingdom under Songhai Muhammad Tour. He, like Mansa Musa, will go on Hajj. However, he's not going to give away all of the gold when he does it. But when he does go, he's actually going to wind up bringing back materials to build his tomb, which is pretty cool. He built up the city of Gao as a center for education and trade. You don't really have to write these two bullets here if you don't want to. But just like how Ghana was attacked by the Almoravids from North Africa, just like how Mali was attacked by the Berbers of North Africa, the Moroccans of North Africa are going to attack Songhai because they too want to control the lucrative gold and salt trade. It's what is having everything go round in West Africa. So they attack Songhai to control the trade routes. And you see, Morocco is going to have an advantage over Songhai that they cannot compete with. Morocco is going to have this shiny new invention called the gun. And we see, as we've talked about at the Battle of Chaldiran, as we talked about all the time, if one side has guns, the other side does not, more likely than not, the side with guns is going to be victorious. So Songhai will end, falling to the Moroccan invasion in 1591 because of Morocco's superior military technology. And that's Songhai, my cherubs. Hello, goodbye. It was so nice to see you. But we can kind of go through Songhai relatively quickly because we see it's the same story that we saw with Ghana, with Mali, that Songhai has. This idea of these West African kingdoms focusing on controlling the gold and salt trade, becoming very powerful for that, and becoming less powerful once they lose that control. So we're going to bring up Benin. And honestly, for most of Benin, you really don't have to write a lot of this stuff. You want to know that Benin had beautiful art. We're going to see that wooden masks are going to become one of the most famous things they're for. The Oba rulers, or some of the earliest kings that we have, we think, in fact, that Benin is where maybe some of the Bantu originally came from. And we're going to see, if you go to an art museum and there's West African art, you're going to see tons of art from Benin. We've recovered so much. But the main reason why we're going to remember Benin, and the main thing that I want you to draw from this, is Benin is going to start trading with the Portuguese in the 1480s. And you might be thinking, Mr. Kenny, why do I care that they start trading with the Portuguese? Of course, Portugal, if my map kept on going, it'd be right about here. It's on the western end of the Iberian Peninsula. That's that country right by Spain. The Portuguese are going to trade for pepper, animal skins, ivory, but also slaves. This is the beginning of the transatlantic trade. So the Europeans are going to come in, and the kings of Benin are going to give them African slaves. And this is the beginning of the slave trade. And this is why I bring up Benin. Later on in the class, later on in the class, at the end of this unit, we're going to be talking about the slave trade. And so we see that this is something, started in the 1480s, that our country and the world is still feeling effects from. The depopulation of West Africa, taking of the youngest and finest, has hurt Africa for hundreds of years, setting them back. The fact that our country is still dealing with issues of racism and prejudice and inequality, it stems at this moment right here. So isn't that something that we're talking about, something that happened almost 600 years ago, but however, still has its impacts today? It's sad. And we're going to get more into the sadness and the horribleness of the transatlantic slave trade later on in this unit. So we'll get to that next year because this year's almost over. Hooray! All right. So I'm going to stop our recording right here. Do we have any questions or comments?